Hi, ghost hunting fans! If you enjoyed Family Spirits, the adventures and evidence of Gallo family ghost hunters, you're going to love Family Spirits 2, Purpose and the Paranormal by Bobby J. Gallo. Paperback and Nookbook available through Barnes & Noble. More adventure, more evidence, more ghosts. Materialize your copy today.
Hey, here we are, folks. We are back. Creepy Conversations from the Castle. I am Bobby J. Gallo, and I am broadcasting from Castello Gallo in Roseto, Pennsylvania. It's my house that looks like a castle, which is why we say Creepy Conversations from the Castle. And today, I'm very excited tonight because I have two of my favorite people in the paranormal on the show tonight, which I think is very, very cool. We have Jenny Colucci. Say
Hello.
Hi, Jenny. And
Hi,
Anthony
Bobby.
Simonelli, my paisan.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
And let me see here. I'm just looking over here. Looks like we got some people already watching, which is cool. I just want to tell everybody that's watching this for the first time, we surpassed 20,000 subscribers today. So
great.
On the channel. So I don't know who's going to be here tonight. Last week, we had a good house, but these things can go either way. They can go up and down. There's no way of telling. I will say though that people that watch the live stream once it's recorded, there's usually a lot. So that's cool. So
Great.
So this is a free form conversation. There's nothing scripted here, and I don't even know what we're going to talk about. But and that's the way I wanted this show, because that's why it's a conversation and not kind of like I'm interviewing you, because both of you have YouTube channels. And I know Jenny has Ghosts of Somerville, which I really, really enjoy. And once we get past this, and this is all recorded. Well, hey, Todd and Carmela, how you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Cocos.
We are going to post links to Jenny and Anthony's channels. It's going to be the pinned comment down below after this show is all done. So just to let everybody know where to find their channel. So definitely Ghost of Somerville is great. And Anthony, I've been on Anthony's podcasts before. He's an awesome, awesome host. And also, like I said, he's my paranormal paisan, because we all have Italian names on this show anyway. So
Paisan Paranormal. Hey.
Jenny, it's really cool that you're a physicist.
Chemistry and physics, that's my jam, right?
That is so fascinating to me. And thank you, Todd. Thank you. It's so fascinating to me because, and that's what I want to know. What I want to know, and if I were talking to you personally, I would ask you this exact same question. Where are you finding the intersects between the paranormal and physics, or are you finding any at all?
Of course. I definitely, science is everywhere, right? Everywhere we look. But, I've always enjoyed, the part we know about science, the measuring, the predicting, that kind of thing. What's in it? When I was 3 years old and I'd have my cereal and say, I wonder what's in it and how can I make it like this and why is it hot? And, my parents were like, we want to kill you. But I think the beautiful part of life is the part we can't measure, right? And the part we can't predict.
Right.
And that's what I love about the paranormal. So yes, there is some science in it for sure, especially in debunking things, right? And Anthony knows he's an electrician, right? So we do some of that, but I also love the magic.
Yep. Last week I was talking to Ron Iacovetti, which all three of us love. Him and Lourdes.
We love them.
They're phenomenal people. I really can't say enough about them. But there was one thing, during the course of my conversation with him that we agree on some things. Some things we may not agree on, only because it's a viewpoint. We're still dealing with intangibles here, and he was talking about a lot of things that wouldn't make sense from a physics point of view. And I'm kind of like, yeah, but is that the way we should be looking at a lot of the paranormal? Because physics, again, is it's non quantifiable right now. The paranormal is non quantifiable. So can we really make that connection right now, or should we even be looking for that connection? What do you think?
I think we should. I agree with you in that respect. And clearly I'm very close with Ron and Lourdes. You know, they're dear, dear friends of mine. And I sit like this when Ron talks, you know, like
me too.
You know, right? Like I'm taking it all in, like, and I'm learning from him. And I mean, isn't that the beauty of it? We learn from each other. I learn from you. I learn from Anthony, you know, all the time. But yeah,
be open-minded.
I agree.
Be open-minded.
I agree.
What do you think, Anthony, about all of this? Do you think like physics and the realm of science can really make a connection with the paranormal, or should we be looking for something completely different?
I think with the science that's out there right now, if everybody agrees with what we're doing and back and forth with physics and all these different sciences, we might be able, if we all get together, we might be able to prove that there is maybe existence after death or something to do with the paranormal. I mean, it's too many heads pushing back and forth. You got some people that are into the science that believe what we're doing, but then you got a lot that, you know, they know what's in the books, and you know, science is always updated somewhere along the line.
Right.
So for them to say no on everything we do is kind of like being blindfolded to stuff, you know. So I feel like we all should be open-minded on both sides and see if we could get something that is more proof that we could actually say, hey, look, physically, I could prove this. And look, I'm being backed up by this person. I'm being backed. And I believe science could help us in the future. But there's too many people that, you know, back there in the science fields that don't believe what we're doing is actually anything to do with science, because I feel what we are doing science also, you know.
Right.
And I mean, look at Frankie, my partner in Parasite. I'm in a group called the Parasite Experience, and one of my partners is a forensic psychologist. And we forget about that science, right?
Right.
I mean, we talk about things like love, right? But we can measure love to an extent, right? Psychologically, right?
Right.
Maybe not completely. And like I said, that leaves a little room for the magic. But, you know, I do work with another field of science as well in my group. So I think that interdisciplinary approach that Anthony's talking about is the right one. And they're not mutually exclusive, the paranormal and science. Absolutely not.
No. And my second favorite physicist that's into the paranormal, you're my first, Jenny. But my second favorite one is Klaus Heinemann, PhD. And he's a NASA physicist. And he's written a lot of books, the Orb Project being one. This is his most recent book called Phenomena, where he takes on more than just orbs. He takes on crop circles, apparitions. He takes on a whole lot of stuff. The guy is off the chain brilliant. But one of the things he says in this book, and I wish I could have bookmarked it so I could read it, but he says that we need to find a different paradigm, a different way of studying phenomena compared to the scientific method, because, you know, even this gentleman with all of his years of experience teaching and working at NASA, he's just come to the conclusion that our present methodology, if you will, for quantifying phenomena, it's just not going to work for what we're investigating. And he says clearly it exists. There's too much evidence that supports it. However, we can't prove it. We have the evidence, but we can't prove it, because evidence and proof are two different things. You know, there's mountains of evidence. There's plenty of evidence. There's enough evidence for the paranormal to prove it in a court of law. In fact, it already has been in several cases, especially in New York. A house was declared legally haunted by the state of New York in court.
That's awesome.
Because of evidence that was presented. So we know that there's evidence. But proof is something else entirely.
Yes.
And that's what's elusive. I do want to say hi to Kasoon. Kasoon is in our chat. He is from Sri Lanka, and he's one of our followers. He's a very, very intelligent guy. So
Great.
I wanted to make sure that I said hi to you, Kasoon. Thank you for dropping in again.
Great.
So
awesome.
yeah, no, that's cool.
I agree. I agree with that. In fact, in our group, we try to even stay away from evidence when we can. We sort of stick with data, you know, or like you said, phenomena. And evidence, I think evidence is a bigger word than I think people throw it around more than they should.
Yeah, I mean, when I speak about evidence, I'm talking really kind of like anecdotal evidence as well. Like anecdotal evidence is evidence because it's in the word. Anecdotal evidence, 2 words. But,
I think it's equal. Yeah. No, I think anecdotal is equal to empirical, really, in this field.
Right. In this field.
Unlike in others, maybe.
Right.
Well, a lot of words with the paranormal that we have out there, TV and movies are actually putting these words out there. When I first started investigating back in the 70s and 80s and all that stuff, we used to call it supernatural. I don't, paranormal just came in like in the 80s when all this stuff, the word existed, but supernatural was used more than paranormal. Right. And now everybody's a paranormal investigator. Everybody, you know, so I feel that words got to do with what TV and all these shows are telling us, and all these new people coming up are listening to that, and they're using those words like evidence. And, you know, I never used evidence. Oh, I got something. You know, when I was doing it, I was never so, you know, with words, and I got something. Hey, look at this. Now it's, oh, look at the evidence I got. You know, it's
okay. That's a fair point. So let me ask you this question. If we're not going to use the word evidence for, let's just say, a spirit box communication, what would you call it?
If just we got something, because when you say evidence,
a
voice, you got a voice, you got something. Because when you say evidence, everybody thinks paranormal. Now, I got something, doesn't give it a label saying, because every time you get a spirit box answer, you can't prove that's evidence. You got a word, you got something there. And I don't feel if you go somewhere and you get all these words coming out of a box, you can prove that place to be haunted. That's why I feel. You can't say, oh, this is haunted. There's something going on there, there's activity, but there's not a haunting.
Like unexplained activity, you're saying?
Yes.
But, and that's a point well taken. Something's happening. There's creaks. The candle just blew out. The door just creaked open. That's not necessarily evidence. I totally am on board with that. In fact, you know, I've been accused of being a true believer on more than one occasion, but the reality is I debunk far more of our stuff than I accept as evidence. And there's that word again, because old habits are hard to break. But, but what I would consider evidence, and this is just me, because again, you know, we're in this field where there's just no standards yet. I mean, we're all just, I mean, we are the pioneers, right? But I would say that evidence, and I think Ron would agree with me on this, is when there's relevance, when there's congruity with something else, or there's just something that can't be denied. Like I just saw this video that I posted on Facebook, and I don't know if this is genuine or not, but if it's real, it's impressive, because guy had an SB7 going while he was cleaning graves. He cleans gravestones. And what comes through? Thank you for cleaning. I mean, my jaw dropped. I'm like,
and relevance, like Ron says,
timing, and relevance. Yes.
And the Cocos are watching, and we must say that 50 times a night when we're investigating.
But it's true.
Like timing and relevance. Yeah.
But I am big on that. I've always been big on that, and I call them in my books. I call them evidence strings. And the more evidence strings you have, the closer you come to some kind of evidence or proof. I'm not saying it's die hard. I'm not saying it's set in stone. I'm just saying you're coming closer to it. Because
it's good. It's
Then
good.
you have to look at the law of averages and say, okay, if I have 4 evidence strings, and let me see if I can just figure this out. Okay, it's a haunted location. You get a relevant spirits box communication. At the same time, you get an incredible looking orb floating right above your head, and that turns into a full body apparition. It actually sounds like one of our investigations. That's a lot of evidence strings
Right.
that support that I think is, I think that deserves the label evidence to me.
Right.
Because
so are you
now,
ready for my word? I got to
yes,
tell
I
you my
wanna hear.
word because I can't wait to tell you my word because you guys are Italian. You ready? I call it paranormal lasagna.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Instead of strings, I call it paranormal lasagna. And instead of
Mhm.
strings, I call it layers.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Feel
Yeah.
free to
And there's-
steal that.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Same thing.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah, Todd. I mean, we get it all the time. If people go to some of our investigations, there's certain ones that I could point out where it's just one thing after another. One piece of. See, now I don't want to call it evidence. Now you made me self-conscious, but
Lasagna. Yeah, one layer of lasagna. You're making you hungry.
Lasagna.
one layer. We're gonna for the rest of the show. We're calling it layers. So when I get
Please.
one layer, one flat noodle, I'm it's hard to say that's evidence, but when you get all these things in synchronicity, I think that's when you're really coming close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. I
Yeah.
agree.
That's the only way. I mean, with hauntings and stuff, that's if you could keep on getting that evidence. There goes the word again.
Yeah, I know. See, old habits
See,
are tough to break.
it's the new. It's what everybody says now. So I guess we
It's what
follow.
everybody says, right?
And it's easier to say the evidence and string off. But if you go to location and you're still getting a lot, and then you go back to location, you get some more stuff, and then you go back and you're back
Right.
and you're back, and sometimes you get the same stuff, sometimes you get different stuff. Yeah, I that's when I say, yeah, the place is haunted. But if you go to a place and get a couple things here and nothing else the rest of the night, it's to me it's active. It's not haunted, which I feel active.
Anthony,
Yes.
no, I want you to finish your thought.
Yes.
Oh, because I'm old. You can't stop me in between sentences. I forget
Oh,
things.
we're like the same age, dude.
I'm getting there. But no, trust me.
With
soul.
activity, when it's like activity, you to me, activity is not always. Maybe the spirit's not always in that location. Maybe they move somewhere else, and they might. I live in a big apartment building here, So sometimes I get stuff in my house, and it's not always here, so it might be somewhere else. So maybe the building might be haunted, but I say the building's active because people they don't come into, they just come in once in a while. And so if I do evidence, I can get a string of stuff here all the time. But if you go to a location like if you go to like an abandoned location of a old asylum or anywhere there was asylums or old hospitals or prisons where there was always some kind of emotions there, that stuff's going to stay there. So it
Right.
might be I
Right.
feel that those are places are haunted, but some of these places that have a lot of activity
Right.
going on, and we go back and forth and we get the activity, but
Mm-hmm.
that's
By the way,
I'm done.
hi, Christine, in the chat, and Kasoon. That's called poltergeist activity. So,
Okay,
Anthony, no, I agree. Now, I'm going to ask you guys this question, even though I'm going to make the disclaimer that the paranormal shouldn't really be about everything being spooky and scary.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to figure out the answers to the afterlife.
Yeah.
And that's really why I'm in it. I don't know what everybody else has their own purpose. That's my purpose.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm going to ask you this question anyway. What was your freakiest experience out in the field?
Well, me or her?
Everybody has to have
Go
one.
ahead. You go first. Age
Go
before
ahead, Anthony.
beauty.
I was in the Hinsdale house. This is a
We've
little
been
weird
friends a
for
long
me.
time.
It was quite a few years ago, where like 2016 or something like that. But I was in the Hinsdale house with a bunch of with my team, and one of my cameras. If you know the Hinsdale house has a room with couches in it, and there's a staircase that goes up, and on the side of that, and underneath that staircase is like a little room.
Yeah.
So it was like a little outlet. You got the couch where you sit down, the couch area, and then you go into a kitchen and a staircase. Okay, but under there, I had a camera facing out, and this is how old it is. It was one of those DVR cameras with the cassettes. That's how long ago it was. Yeah,
I remember those.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
the Sonys. So it was
Yep.
facing out into like where we're sitting, and a little bit in the hallway. All of a sudden, we're sitting there, we hear it click off, just shut off by itself. So, what happened? I thought maybe the battery dies. So I go up to it, I click it. It was actually physically shut off. So I click it back on. So as I'm doing that, right behind me, there's a carriage, and there's an old one of those 1960 carriages with springs and stuff like that on my back and back of me, and there's a rocking chair. So I'm feeling behind me cold, like something cold. So I said, oh. So I turned around and I was like, oh wow, maybe this is like a portal or something, and I'm feeling it. And so one of the guys across the room had a the thermal gun,
Thermal gun. Yeah.
points it over, and he comes over and goes, hey, behind you, the temperature's dropping. So I was like, oh wow, maybe something's trying to manifest or something. So I turn around and there's a carriage there, has the metal handle and stuff. Like, I said, if it's getting cold, maybe it's metal, maybe it's getting colder. So I grabbed the metal. All of a sudden, I had an image of a woman. You heard this one already, Ted. An image of a woman pouring fluid on a baby in the carriage and throwing a match.
Oh.
Yeah. So I let go. I leave the building, and I never, everybody knows I never run out of building. I never ran out since. I'm always the first in. I walked out the building, and I went back there, and I was back there, and like tears were coming down my eyes. And my brother comes, you okay? You okay? I'm like, yeah, Gerard. I don't know what happened. I told him what happened, I said, I seen this woman, and I explained to him what I just seen. And I was all, shaken up. So he's like, you want to stay out here? You want to come back in? I'm like, I said, I drove 7 hours to get out here. I'm going to go back in. And, so I went back inside the building. I went over by the carriage, and my brother goes, touch the carriage again. And I was like, and he's like, come on. Yeah. So I touched the carriage, and I actually seen ashes of the baby.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
And
this is when I'm glad I'm not as sensitive.
that bothered me so much that, I went back, and I stayed in the building, but the rest of the night I was really on point. And then the front door opens up in the building. You hear click. I'm like, it was a crazy night, but
That's some
image,
lasagna right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the door, you hear it click, and it's weird because the door clicked. One of the guys on my team, Joe C, was sitting this way, and another guy on my team that passed since, Joe McCaffrey, they actually seen the door open. The weird part about it, I latched the door, I locked the door.
Yeah.
And that door should have never opened. And we heard a click, and the door opened. So we all get up, we worked around to see if anybody's there, because if you know Hinsdale, you always have somebody driving up in the middle of the night.
Right.
So we thought maybe somebody, but the problem was, if you walk out on that front porch, there's a sensor, the light will go off.
The light goes on.
But that door opened up and there was no light.
Oh
Right.
boy.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was And then the rest of the night you heard kids giggling upstairs and a rocking chair going in the corner, rocking
So
by
it was
itself.
definitely more than one event this was like an entire experience that you had.
Right.
And I think that is more impactful, honestly. So I mean, I can kind of relate. I mean, I had a similar type of experience on an investigation, but I'm not going to go into it here. I mean, I wrote about it in my books. But Jenny, I want to hear yours.
Boy, I don't know if I can top that one. Like I said, I'm so fortunate, I think, sometimes because I see people who are mediums, people who are sensitives, really, affected by these things, by certain things. And I think, oh, in a way, I'm kind of happy that I don't see these horrible things or, hear these horrible things. It takes a lot, I think, to scare me, but I can think of two quick ones rather than one long one. The Betsy Ross house. Not a lot of people have investigated that, and I was very fortunate to do that in Philadelphia. And it was like disembodied voice after disembodied voice. And if you investigate, you know that that's always creepy, right? When you just hear someone talking to you who isn't there, correct?
Yeah, and somebody like you, I would imagine that you, being a physicist, you have to be a debunker by nature.
Of course. So I'm looking out the windows, everything else kind of thing.
Right,
but when it's whispering directly in your ear and you can sort of feel it in your ear.
And I've had that.
It's so hard. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and it depends what they say. But in this case, I had a woman in the Betsy Ross house come up and say, I see you there. Right in my ear. I see you there. And I got chills just now. And the best part is I got it on my body camera. So I got the recording of it. So actually I heard it out loud and I got the recording. So yeah.
Awesome. That is phenomenal.
Yeah. But I mean, what
Jenny, I hope you just did those fireworks because if you didn't, I'm going to freak.
Yeah, you have fireworks that's behind you.
I didn't do it.
What?
No, of course not. Look.
Oh, come on.
She had fireworks.
I thought you thought it was cool.
No, I didn't do anything. Anthony, that was, oh my gosh.
I know. I was like, I thought you hit something and set it off.
Ron, that was timing and relevance right there.
I was on Anthony's show once and all of a sudden my lights were going on and off and I was like, please stop. Here, of all, I'm so serious. I'm like, please stop.
Todd,
please stop.
I don't know what the fireworks were. I thought Jenny did.
Yeah.
Okay,
I thought you did too. It's like in the background.
I liked it. It was cool. I'll tell you my second experience. Maybe it'll happen again.
As soon as she said, I got it on the body camera, yay, and then there's fireworks.
And when you said yay, it just went off.
Okay. And relevance. We got evidence on this show.
It's not the first time. So my second really quick experience was at Fort William Henry in New York State. Nicole Shivatoni and I from Full Moon Paranormal were in the casement in the middle of when I say like the wee hours, like 2:30 in the morning, dead silence in the fort, absolutely silent. And we were down in the casement at the bottom of the stairs. And all of a sudden, like so loud, thundering footsteps, boots running down the stairs at us. And we were at the bottom of the stairs when it happened. And I was so startled. It took me about 20 minutes to recover. It was just like boom, 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 out of sheer silence. And we were like, kind of thing. That terrified me a bit.
Yeah.
Wait, yay.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I know. Yeah, where's the fireworks now?
I thought maybe because I said yay, but I guess not. See, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm a scientist, trying to predict it.
Maybe there's some kind of verbal trigger on your computer.
That's what I thought, but
that's wild.
I swear I did not do that.
Anyway,
that was
So
strange.
thundering footsteps in the middle of the night, dead silence. All of a sudden, just like you'd hear the boots on the stairs, the wooden stairs, and it was terrifying.
We were in the old Drunker Church in Antietam. Yes. And if you think about that small building, they had bodies piled up like cordwood right outside of that church during the Battle of Antietam. It was, people always talk about Gettysburg, but the single biggest loss of life in a single day was in Antietam.
Yes.
It was really, really bad. And we were talking, we were doing it, and all of a sudden in the church, something's walking across the floorboards, and I stopped and I looked at the family, and nobody did anything. We got that on tape. We got that. It's
That's cool.
amazing. I mean, whenever you get something like that, it's just wild.
It's mind blowing.
It really is.
That's great.
Todd asked a question. He said, do you feel orbs are spirits of loved ones or simply some type of entity energy from a different dimension? I'm going to answer this first, and then my two guests answer this as well. Todd, I think it could be a number of things. The jury is still out. If they're not spirits themselves, then they could be portals of sorts, little portals, or the energy by which they manifest on this plane of existence. The only thing that makes me sometimes think that they are spirits themselves is some of the photographic evidence that I've gotten over the years. Like we've gone where it started as an orb and then it blew up into a full body apparition in a series of shots. And I've seen that from other people as well, the exact same thing. It's important not to confuse paranormal orbs with lens flare, because lens flare, if I see one more lens flare orb on the orb forms on the screen, they look completely different. They are not the same. But there are paranormal orbs. And and that should surprise anybody, because the circle, and our physicist friends should know this, is the default form of energy, is a sphere. So that's why orbs are orbs and not squares or triangles or anything like that, or trapezoids. But what do you guys think about the whole subject of orbs? That's a fact to me. I could talk hours on that subject.
You first, Jenny. Ladies first.
I read the Orb Project, by the way. You were mentioning the book before, and thank you for recommending that. I recommend it to everybody, the Orb Project. I agree with you. I think my threshold is really high with orbs, and I have seen what you've seen in a theater, having a light with its own light source, and that's another thing, right?
Right.
So is it self-illuminated, right? And it moved into a seat and then turned into an apparition.
Yep.
So okay, kind of thing.
So
but I just have a really, like you said, lens flare after lens flare. I have a very high threshold. Yeah.
Honestly, and that just goes to prove to people that I know what lens flare is, and lens flare is a thing. And I've even one of my more famous orb photos, I'm now rethinking, even though it doesn't look like lens flare, it still could have been lens flare because of the way the flash was positioned as I go back and I look at it. But I have plenty others that, and the ones that get me the most and convince me the most, or when I ask them to appear and there they are, and there's orbs and no other pictures.
Yeah, anything like that though.
Right. We did that in Valley Forge. There was movement coming from behind me. We got it on tape, something moving behind me. I turn around, get the camera, and said, can you pose for a picture? And there he is, a nice orb with the membrane. I mean, the classic paranormal orb. There's no orbs in any other pictures in that entire investigation. Things like that really make me think. But what do you think, Anthony? I want your
Well, I was never crazy about orbs, because what you see, I mean, and I believe in orbs. Don't get me wrong, because I have seen.
No, that's fine.
But there's a lot of stuff out there, and people showing you pictures, and people sending me pictures and everything about orbs. People have to realize, when you have orbs, even when you have night vision cameras and stuff, if you're out in a field, it could be dust. It could be pollen in the air. It could be anything of all that, from raindrops to just dew. And people don't realize that when you even have night vision, you will get a reflection back. And like, I heard people like, oh, look at this field, like I have an army of orbs. You don't have an army of orbs, because it's a wheat field. Okay,
I understand.
There's a lot of stuff out there that you look at and you're like, oh, it's grandma in the corner.
Yeah.
I had one person say, oh, this is my grandmother. She came to see me. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute. They must have took a flash. She had diamond earrings on. You can see the earring glowing, but you see an orb, the same color, right in front, like really big. I'm not like, that's a lens flare. But
Right.
she got mad at me because I said, I don't think that's your grandma. I think it's more of a lens flare. No, it's my grandma. People are going to believe what they want to believe.
Well,
But on the other hand is, I was in Gettysburg and I was on one of those little tours with the family, the haunted tours. And we went by these churches. And it was first they walked us down a block and they said, look at the building in front. It was a police station. They said, and they started telling the history about the police station. As they're doing that, I feel movement behind me. So I just turned and out of the corner of my eye, I seen a nun standing there. I know what nuns will look like because I went to Catholic school. Okay.
I knew that was coming.
Okay. And the yardstick hurts a lot on the knuckles. But there was a nun. It looked like a nun like moving behind me. So instead of turning, I took up my camera and I took a couple pictures. Boom, 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 boom. Over my shoulder. Where I seen the nun, it came out on the camera, not the nun, but an orb.
Huh.
And you can see, to me, those orbs, a real orb to me is you have on the outside, it's like a nucleus type of thing. It's round.
Yeah.
On the outside, it's like those lights that you use on you. It's on the outside, it's bright, and the inside's a little less. To me, that looks like an energy thing.
Yes.
Klaus Heinemann agrees with you.
Yes, he does.
You know what I mean?
And so
It
do
looks
I.
like those lights that everybody has for their cell phones now, those little round lights, but it has that round brightness on the outside and a little less on the inside. And I've seen those on a lot of pictures, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool,
Yep,
Right.
you're 100% right.
Yes.
That's to me, that's a real orb. You might have a couple of them in a room, but there's a lot of dust. And working construction all my years, I walked into rooms with just a sunlight coming in like through the ceiling because they're building a new skyscraper or something, and it's coming in, and that piece of light coming in, you're walking, and it's like orb central. It's just the dust floating up. So I was always on the orbs. I have to look at them to see if they're to me, the way I just said it with the light around it. To me, that's a real orb.
Right.
But I mean, I've seen orbs. They say it's orbs, and it looks like a smiley face. Now you go on your windshield, and when it's raining out, and you got those raindrops on it, you take a picture of a raindrop, it looks like a smiley face.
Yes.
Okay, so now people think, oh, look, it's an orb, it's smiling at me. No, it's just a raindrop. It's just the way, if you look at some of the stuff on a magnifying glass, on the way things look, like what they call orbs, you look underneath pollen or wheat or anything, and they show you, if you just Google it, and you can see stuff magnified, under a magnifying glass or just a microscope,
Right.
and you see, different ways. So
And you're just an unbeliever. I'm kidding.
No.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
No.
Like I said, I do believe in orbs,
No, it's true.
but it has to be a certain
I'm
thing.
kidding.
Yeah, like you said, like I said, a high threshold, and it has to have that self illumination around the outside.
Yes.
I'm an electrician. I know what electricity looks like. Something that's powered,
Yeah. I had someone show me a video, and honestly, I was stumped. I thought, wow, the way that the light was behaving was just so unusual. I thought, that's not dust, that's not a bug. Like I stared at it for hours, and then all of a sudden I said, were you wearing a watch? And she's off camera, and she was wearing a watch. And sure enough, just that little bit of light, had come through somewhere, and we figured it out that the watch had been reflecting it. Sometimes you have to think about things off camera.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I love that. You know, my favorite orb photo, and I can't even show this on because it's not my photo, and I don't know who took it, but my favorite one, it has all the characteristics of a classic paranormal orb, and it was taken from a distance. The orb, it's about as big as a basketball, and it's pressing itself against the side of someone's head, and you can actually see the outline. So if this was dust, which has to be 10 centimeters from the lens in order to be a dust orb, it can't be. It's literally pressing itself against the side of someone's head, and you could see it forming to their head. So to me, I look at that and I'm like, and I've pondered this picture forever. I'll show.
I got nothing.
I'll send it in Messenger to you. I'll show you guys in Messenger. I'm telling you, this one's gonna freak you out. This is one of the best orb photos you'll.
That's cool. And it
has some sort of physical thing to push, you know, like
what's that?
Against the guy's head. It was like physically. That's like, wow. How can you disprove that?
Yeah.
You know. I'm sorry, Jen. I cut you off.
No, I just had a question. Is it still round?
Go ahead.
Is it round still?
No, it's not round anymore because it's pressing itself against the side. So it's round except for the side of the orb, which is pressing against the person's head.
Understood.
Oh wow! Okay. So it's like it's not like going into the guy's head; it's just pressing the guy's head.
Right.
Yes.
So right. I get it.
Oh wow! Okay. That's interesting.
So, I mean, I know, you know, again, for an orb to be dust or moisture or pollen, it has to be 10 centimeters or less in front of the camera lens. Too far, and it's not going to reflect. Too close, and because of the way it has to be. It could be pretty close, actually, but it has to be at least 10 centimeters. So there's no way. So I don't know. I mean, it's mysteries for sure.
It's one of those things that keeps us up at night.
Yeah, I mean, there's this thing.
Yeah, for real.
With the cameras, people like there's just like a line going across the camera like this, and they say it's a ghost dancing. You know, it's a spider web.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, spider webs I could recognize.
They see the big things crawling. It's an insect on your lens. It's
and sometimes you don't want to debunk things. One time, my daughter thought she had the greatest picture, and basically it was just a slow shutter with a street lamp, and it made this that looked like an electric something or other. I don't know. It looked really cool, and I'm like, honey, I know what this is, and unfortunately, it's not paranormal. It was a slow shutter, and she just called the street lamp make it a streak, and but I mean, you got to be honest, you know. I mean,
of course,
that's the thing.
But can I say one thing about that? Like, I think you need to be honest, but I think what I would say to that person who says that's grandma, right? I would say, did you feel like your grandma was there? Because maybe that isn't grandma, but that doesn't mean grandma wasn't there. So
you know, that's a good point.
How I deal with that.
Okay.
That is a good point. Let me expound upon that a little bit. Let's just say, Anthony, let's just say for argument's sake, orbs are dust. Let's just say they are, okay, for argument's sake.
Okay.
Do we believe in poltergeist activity? Okay.
Of course we do. The fireworks just went off. Right.
How much exactly? How much energy, if ghosts need energy in order to perform small tasks like moving a door, or any kind of like minor poltergeist activity, how much less would it what am I looking for the word here? How much less energy would a spirit need to move a speck of dust? So let's just say, for argument's sake, they are moving specks of dust at 10 centimeters in front of the camera as a means of communication because it's easy for them to do it.
Well, I guess that's great. I mean, they would have like to get a wind to move the dust. I don't think they could pick up a piece of dust and a wind that has to be going into dust there. No,
if poltergeist activity is a thing, and they can, let's just say, throw my cell phone, they could move a piece of dust. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just saying, what are the possibilities that they can actually manipulate small objects to communicate, because it takes less energy that way?
Okay. But then again, it might take as just much energy to move something big.
We don't know this though, right?
It does. We can't prove anything on that.
Right.
I mean,
Right. We don't know it.
we might take them just to move that little piece of dust, same amount of energy as to move a cup across the table. You know, you don't know how much energy they have. And if they have a little bit of energy, I don't know if they're going to worry about a piece of dust. They're going to go after something bigger to, move. So we can say, oh, wow, look, there's something here. They're trying to communicate with us.
I mean, that's a good question.
It's possible. I can't say what you're saying. It's not possible.
Right.
And I can see.
I'm just throwing it out there. This is all conjecture. I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying this is all conjecture on my part. I'm throwing it out there as a possibility.
Yeah.
Before people say that, oh, it's just a naturally occurring phenomenon. Well, maybe that naturally occurring phenomenon is still having its roots in the paranormal. We don't know this yet.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
right.
That's why I like this conversation format, because we can just go back and forth.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. But that you can really extrapolate on that. Like, I like that thinking.
Yes. We always have to think outside the box.
Right.
There's another orb photo, which I may or may not have somewhere on my computer, that has a full body apparition, and it looks like it's walking. It looks like a full body apparition of a small girl, and it's walking along the field with two orbs on each side of her, and it's so good. And people go, "Oh, well, that's a full body apparition, but that's dust on either side of her."
Oh,
and
I
am more
Not
apt
likely.
to think
Not
that's
likely.
three spirits. One had enough energy to form into a full body apparition, and the others are still working on it, for lack of a better description. So
the best evidence I ever seen in all the years I've been doing this is what Tony Rathman, you know who Tony Rathman is. Tony Rathman has this, they have a picture, it's weird. It looks like a shadow walking out and walking down the hall.
Yeah.
And I seen that, I'm like, wait a minute. And I went back and I'm looking at it and stuff. And I'm looking at it as different, like where the shade comes in on one side, but it was like the same color shadow walking down that hallway. It was weird. And what happened was they were sleeping at the time. It was just a camera rolling overnight. They were sleeping in this place. It was the old I forgot the hospital they used to go to.
It was a hospital, right?
Yeah. And I know Ron's listening, he'll probably put it out there.
Yeah.
It was an old hospital that they used to go to. And they had the key for that. And they used to go there all the time. And they actually knocked down the hospital. And it was the night before, like the last time, he said that was the last time they were there. They were sleeping in a tent down the hallway in this place. And shadow figure, Ron. Okay. Philip Dodge Hospital.
Right.
Am I saying that right? And they were sleeping down the hallway. And they checked the evidence. They checked it when I went home. And it looks like they have it playing. It looks like two shadows coming out of the room, walking across the hallway, and then another shadow, coming down, walking down the hallway. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I know Tony Rathman that well that I know he wouldn't never fake it. People saying this is fake. It's not faked. And I looked at it and I have other people that look at it, and it was the best. I would say it's like the Holy Grail. It's something I would love to have as part of my evidence, but something like that. And it's no way I could prove it wrong. Maybe somebody could, but I
agree. That's the best shadow figure I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's like the Holy Grail. I don't know if you've seen it, Bobby, but you got to check this one out.
No, I want to.
Yeah.
You got to show that to me.
Astounding.
Yeah, I know he has it on his website, on their website. But yeah, it was like the best piece ever. If I get a copy, or Ron can get a copy to you or something, this is the best evidence I ever seen in all the years I've been doing it. So it's really something.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
The Holy Grail of evidence. I'm saying it is.
You know what's cool about this show? This is a genuine creepy conversation. That's what.
Creepy conversation. I was sitting on my couch thinking creepy conversations on the couch.
We could need some more fireworks from you.
Funny. Yes. creepy conversations on the
Yes.
couch.
That was creepy. I was on Tony Rathman and Ron's and the All Good show, right? And during that show, there were voices, like a little girl talking, and I don't have young girls. It was really
I
strange.
remember hearing that. Yes, we the audience.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm known for my paranormal activity on shows.
Yeah, yeah. It follows you around.
That firework thing, that was.
I'm about to watch it again. You know, we're all going back to watch it again because that's how.
Oh, we are definitely all going back to that.
The first thing we do
Absolutely.
is going back to watch it.
That was
That's
wild.
crazy. That was crazy. That
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
I love
And the
it.
way it happened, she was just like, and she was like ending her conversation, and she was like all excited. That made me excited. And all
Yay! When
Yeah,
I say
right?
yay, fireworks go off.
that was
That was
wild.
crazy.
I thought
I
you
don't
did
even
it,
have
Bobby.
a function on here to do that if I wanted to. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nothing on the StreamYard that lets you
I
do
thought
that.
you did it.
That was
Okay.
more like a
Nope.
green screen thing behind it that you would have to put on yourself.
I have nothing in front
And
of
your
me.
hands
Just
were like
my
this.
lap.
Your hands were up, so we know you didn't
Just my
touch
lap
that.
in front of me. I have nothing. So
Yeah,
Absolutely was
awesome.
not me.
yeah.
I
You're getting
love it.
evidence
Like
from the show.
you can't turn it off, right? You can't turn it off. I mean, do you find you get home from an investigation and you're like, what was that? For like a day.
Well, I mean, we used to get paranormal hangover a lot. We were just like totally exhausted. Because I know
Yeah.
Kassoon
Right.
up in the chat somewhere, he was mentioning that battery drain, where they
Mhm.
drain the energy from your equipment, which we are so famous for that. It's not
Of
even funny.
course.
Brand new batteries, and the cool ones is where they drain your battery, and then you come home and the battery is charged again.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh yeah, so many times. But your
Mhm.
videos
Yep.
in particular happens a lot.
That's
Happens
awesome.
all the time, and
Yeah.
and I know, I know you like this quote of mine, Jenny. Like, I don't believe I know.
I love that.
That
I love that.
I'm gonna make
quote.
that into a T-shirt.
I love that. You
Um,
should.
I think that would be a good one. Honestly, I think if they don't have something to take it from, they're going to take it from you, and that's why we get paranormal hangover.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are a firm believer that they need some type of energy, the electromagnetic nature, to manifest on this plane of existence, because that's the connections that I'm making. And if they can't get it from your equipment, they're going to get it from you. But
Wow,
they're only
that's what-
doing what you ask them to do.
Right. So that's why I
Yes,
say,
you want
hey,
to
if you
do
need
revenue?
energy, take it from Anthony.
Yes, he gets me drained.
Well,
I say,
Well, you got
take
more
it
of
It's
me to
honestly
drain,
the
I guess.
I mean, we have an EM pump in our kit, so
Right.
you can't do any EMF when you have the EM pump going. You put away EMF, there's EM pumps coming out.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
We have to be careful with that because it is so strong that it will start. You'll start getting weird feelings and everything if you
Oh, yeah.
if you're close to it for too long. So you got to be careful with those EM pumps.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I start to itch. Is that weird? I start to get like all like I'm like bugs are crawling on me.
That's actually not weird at all because
Right.
and I still know I know Renee at one time we were using it, she felt like something was touching her arm, and I'm saying it could have been the EM pump. It's very, very possible, but
Yes.
so that wouldn't surprise me at all. But we don't know. I mean, we have so much other evidence in that investigation. She might have been getting touched on the arm, but
Could
I
be.
do know now that some things need to be a substantial distance away from the user, REM pods especially. Too many people are like holding REM pod. I'll never forget. I'm watching this big paranormal show, and the star of the show is holding the REM pod in his hand,
No.
and like, look, it's a ghost. And I'm like, dude, it's detecting you. I just can't.
Yeah. It's something how
Kassoon, they don't.
they-
Kassoon, answer your question. They don't attract anything. The theory is it provides them with energy, so they don't have to take it from your equipment or from you. So it's not that they're attracting anything; it's just that they're using it. Now you're asking about entities. I don't know how they work. I don't know the physiology of the demon, so I really couldn't answer that question.
Right.
And incredibly, I just can't. Um, I study ghosts and ghosts, spirits, disembodied consciousness, and that's the conclusions that I've drawn so far. I could be wrong on everything because, like I said, we are treading a field now that is like we're making the first footprints in this field. So we can only guess.
Well, when we go on investigation and stuff, because they will drain you. That's why you always bring water.
Definitely.
Because when they drain you, you're going to get your mouth's going to dry up, because when the energy comes out of you, it's what they're doing is taking the electricity out of you. So because your body's always pumping with electricity with your heart and everything. So when they start draining you, your mouth is going to start drying up, because that's part of the energy they're taking out of you. Okay. So
paranormal
when you go
dry mouth.
Yeah, definitely. Paranormal dry mouth. I always bring water. Like I said, I bring my Red Bulls and a candy bar.
He does.
Because when those things give you some sort of energy back, especially the Red Bull. Red Bulls make you fly.
Right.
But
Right.
the Red Bull and the candy bar, because you'll get a little bit of energy back from that, because the candy and the Red Bull make your heart pump faster, and it puts some more energy, electrical charges into your body, and brings you back a little bit. But you always have
cannoli.
And cannolis, yeah.
Cannoli.
And bring cannolis, and that's all you got to do.
Yeah, he does.
The energy.
Oh, I love
That's
cannolis.
his excuse. I know, that's his excuse. I need it for the energy.
The cannolis they'll make you have energy.
That's a good show name for a show. Cannoli.
Seriously.
I know cannolis.
He's always got cannoli and a Red Bull.
We're actually
cannoli on my show once, and they actually had cannolis delivered to me during the show.
Oh, wow.
They were on my show, and they had cannolis delivered on the show. My wife comes in with a box of cannolis. I'm like, what's this? It's from Todd and Camilla. Well, we call it Camilla, chameleon, But,
hey,
but yeah.
Hey, I call it Carmella.
We're winding down here,
Okay.
but I want both of you to tell me about your current projects.
Sure.
Jenny, you're better speaking than I am.
Or
Oh, please.
appearances. Oh, me and Jenny are going to be appearing at the same Paracon very soon.
We are. It's so exciting.
That's
I haven't seen you
I am
since
coming there too.
May. Yes, and Anthony.
Oh, that's right.
as
Anthony,
well,
you're going to be there too. That's right.
Yeah, we don't really split up. I know, like you've heard, we don't, like, we wither and die.
That's
and we
cool.
split up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You've heard of the paranormal couple, right? Like Satori and Cody. Like, we're the paranormal odd couple. That's Anthony and me. And no, we'll be this weekend. We're doing the Willows Mansion in Morristown.
Nice.
Beautiful 1854 Gothic building. General Revere, right? Everybody knows Paul Revere. It's his grandson, correct? Great grandson or grandson. And so that's a beautiful building. We have an event there this weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous place. Ron will be there, Ron and Lourdes.
Okay.
And the Cocos.
I got to come on one of these investigations with you guys. I really do, because this
sure
stuff
do.
is not even far from me.
We have
It's not even far from me. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell them about
It's
the other
not.
thing we're doing. What's the other thing we're doing in October?
Oh, that little project we're doing.
Oh, the little project.
Yeah, we have a podcast, a new podcast that'll be beginning October 1st.
Nice.
Yes, we do.
October 1st, yeah.
It's three of us. We were working with Kim Geyer, the ghost history medium.
Nice.
And it is called Seekers Chronicles Paranormal Historians. It's very, very history based with a little paranormal sprinkled in.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, we're big
Phenomenal.
history fans, and who isn't, right? It's like night at the museum at these gorgeous places we're privileged to be in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't get into that. I didn't get into the historic part of it until I got into the paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tuesday evenings, 8 o'clock, ERRT Radio Network on YouTube.
Okay. So this is what we're going to do. After this show is over, and it doesn't have to be tonight, Jenny, you could do it tomorrow. Shoot me
Right.
the links of your radio shows so I can pin them beneath this one, because our
Okay.
audience is growing rapidly. And, you know, I know that some of my other guests have been getting some really solid activity from their appearances on this, which I think is awesome.
Super.
I'm so happy that I made it through this without passing out.
I
because
know. Thank you
for
for sticking
anybody,
it out.
I was telling everybody I'm just coming off of a 24-hour bug that made me feel like I got hit by a truck.
Oh,
So, and I'm already starting to lose my voice here.
yeah.
But for everybody, I just want to say, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. Come back when this is up live on YouTube as a stream replay, because then we're going to have all the links for the projects that Anthony and Jenny are doing. So again, thank you very much for, you know, joining us tonight, and everybody in the chat. You guys are absolutely awesome. We appreciate the support. And that's it. Any final words, guys?
Thank you.
No.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you for
Oh, this
having
was
us. I
fun.
got to say it. Forget
You gotta
about
say
it.
Forget
Hey,
about it. Hey, who are you talking to? Huh? You
Oh.
talking to me?
hey, you're talking to
How
me.
you doing?
You guys were great. You guys were great. We had this was
Thank
such a
you.
fun conversation tonight.
We
It
could
really
do
was.
this all night when you're feeling better.
yeah.
We could definitely do a longer one when I'm feeling better. Absolutely. No question about it. Whereas right now, like I said, I'm running on fumes right now.
Oh, Bobby, we are going to see you. You mentioned it, October
Yes.
13th. We are
Yes.
in Boonton, New Jersey. It's called
Correct.
The Hollow, right?
It
It's an
is.
event in
Yes.
Boonton.
It's like it's a small Paracon at the Elks Club in town there. And
Yes.
there's actually, you got some great guests there, but yeah, we're definitely going to be there. So sure, I will. Yeah, people definitely stop by. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We can link
And I'm
that
going to be,
too.
I'm doing my lecture, Kids and the Paranormal.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And that's soon going to be replaced by another lecture, which I can't mention right now because I'm still working on it. But
Okay.
Kids in the paranormal. I'm need help with that. I'm always into helping kids on the paranormal.
Yes.
and I couldn't ask for a better person to help me with anything, Anthony,
It's
because
true.
you are the man for sure.
He is the man.
No.
He's the best.
Yeah.
You guys. If I wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be still doing this. You know, guys like you guys.
You know what?
I would not still be doing this.
You got to have support, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's tough in this business because there's too much competition. There's too much dog eat dog, and I don't know why we're all. Because I think I'm going to go down the rabbit hole here, so I'm going to stop myself. But let's just say, I think it's great when we support each other.
That's right.
And that's what it's supposed to be. Happy for each other, proud of each other. If any one of us does better than the other, doesn't matter. You compliment and you do. You all for each other. You know, it's not a me, it's us.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
We're rooting for each other.
Yeah,
we're very blessed to be part of like that circle of wonderful people, and you're included in that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You know what? That means everything. It really does. And on that, I couldn't end it on a better note.
Okay.
Thanks, folks, and we'll see you later. Good night.
Thank you.
Ciao,
Good night.